Okay, today we're going to be looking at section 8.1, which is the first section of chapter 8, which deals with adding and subtracting of polynomials. So hopefully by the end of this section, you can say that I can classify, add, and subtract polynomials. So first of all, we need to look at some terminology. The first terminology that you'd see, or term that you'd see, is monomial. A monomial is simply a real number, a variable, or a product of a real number and one or more variables with whole number exponents. So some examples might be 8 or 18, excuse me, an m, a negative 5x squared. You could have an x over a 3. That would be another example of a monomial. Okay, so the degree of a monomial is simply the sum of the exponents of its variables. So for instance, if I asked you for the degree of this one right here, the degree of this one would be degree 2. Okay, the degree of this monomial would be degree 1. Okay, so the degree of a non-zero constant is 1. So non-zero constant is 1, and a 0 has no degree. Okay, then let's take a look at the next one here. Okay, so if we were to ask you for the degree of this one right here, for the degree of number 1, we'd say the degree here is 6. Okay, the degree of this one is a 1. The degree of this one would be a 2. The degree of this one would be a 0. Okay, the degree of this one would be a 5. And the degree of this one would be a 1. Okay, then if we were to ask you to simplify, simplifying simply means we're going to combine like terms essentially. So if we were to look here, these two are like terms, so I could simply say if I add those together, I'd get a 9 mn to the 4th power. So try to do the rest of these, and then let's see if you get the right ones. Okay, so you should have gotten a 5g squared for number 8. Number 9, you should have just a 1c to the 4th d. And for this last one, you should have a 27z to the 3rd power. Okay, so next thing we're going to look at is something called a polynomial. A polynomial is simply a monomial, or the sum of monomials. So you could say in a polynomial, you could have a 4. That would be a polynomial. You could have a 6x squared plus 3x. That would be a polynomial. You could have a 4x squared plus 2x minus 8. That would be another example of a polynomial. Okay, so standard form then. Standard form, the degree of each of its terms decreases from left to right. So it's we're talking about a polynomial. So, and the degree of each of its terms decreases from left to right. So we'd have x to the 4th, then x to the 3rd, then just a constant of 6. So in standard form, it would be a negative 3x to the 4th plus 2x to the 3rd minus a 6. So now if we talk about the degree of the polynomial, it's the same as the degree of its term with the highest degree. So if we looked at these three terms, I've got a negative 3x to the 4th, a 2x to the 3rd, and a negative 6. Well, the highest degree is a 4, so that would be the degree of this polynomial. Okay, next thing we've got. This is a table that we should copy down into our notes for an example. So if you need to pause the video after we talk about it and copy it, great, but I think you should just listen for a second first. So there's two ways that you can name a polynomial. You can name them by degree and by the number of terms. So if we first look at this one right here, we've got a 6. It's degree 0. We consider it a constant. There is one term, so it's a monomial. Okay, next one, we've got a 5x to the plus 9. That's degree 1. And anything degree 1 we call a linear. Then the next one, let's just move down on this left-hand side. We got a 4x squared plus 7x plus 3. That's degree 2. Anything degree 2 we call a quadratic. Degree 3, the next one down, is called a cubic. And then the next one down, degree 4, it's 4th degree. Sometimes we call it a quartic. And then degree 5 is a quintic. And then anything after that, we just say it's like the 6th degree, 7th degree, 8th degree, so on. Okay. So then, by number of terms, we have monomial, binomial, trinomial, and then anything after a trinomial, if we have more than 3 terms, we just simply go back and refer to it as a polynomial. Okay, so 3 or more terms is a polynomial. We don't get specific on those. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So now, what kinds of things would you have to do? First of all, write it into standard form. So standard form, highest degree term goes first. So this would be in standard form. Standard form, this would be a negative a squared plus 7a plus 4. Okay, if I named it by degree, well, it is a degree 2, which we refer to as a quadratic. Okay, if we named it by number of terms, there are 3, which means it is a trinomial. Okay, so let's try this next one. It's already in standard form. So then the next thing we just need to talk about is the degree. So it's again degree 2, so it's a quadratic. And the number of terms, there's 2, so it's a binomial. Okay, the next one, standard form. It's already in standard form. The degree is a 4, which you could say it's degree 4, or I just told you that those are called quartics. Okay, also it is one term, so it is a monomial. Okay, see what you can do with this last one, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, the first thing you should see is that there's things that could be combined. So if I wrote it into standard form, it would be a 2x to the third minus 2x. And then if you combine those, you get a minus 1. So that would be it in standard form. By degree, if we talked about by degree, it's degree 3. So that is a cubic. If you talk about by number of terms, there are 3. So it is a trinomial. Okay. Next thing, if we were asked you to simplify here, simplify means we're just basically combining like terms. So the first one, if we ask you to add these, you can just add down. This would be like a vertical format. So this would be a 10r plus an 8. You might see a horizontal format, so then you're just combining like terms. So we have t to the fourth, and we should answer right in standard form. So the next thing, I got a t to the third, so that would be a minus t to the third. I've got a minus 4t squared. That would be next. And then I got a plus a 3t. And then I got a plus 9. That would be my answer in standard form. Okay. Same thing here then on 18. You should get an 11 b squared plus 11. This one, we're subtracting this whole bottom thing. So you have to take 4 minus 6 and you'd get a negative 2z. But then you also have to think of 7 minus the 1, which is going to give you a positive 6. So it should be negative 2z plus 6. The next one, if we take a look here, we're minusing. So one thing I like to do when it's minusing, I like to rewrite it as addition. So I'm thinking of it as adding, and then I'm just going to change the signs on all these. This becomes a negative, this becomes a positive. Okay, so now I have k to the third. So how many do I have? I'd have a negative 1 k to the third, or just a negative k to the third. Do I have any k squareds? Yes. And I change that to a negative, so that's a negative 3k squared. And then you look at k's, I have 2 of them. I've got a 3k and then a plus an 8k, so that would be 11k. And then do I have any constant terms? And no. So that would be my answer in standard form. Okay, next one, again, if I'm subtracting here, subtracting both of those pieces, so I'd get a negative 6p to the fourth, and I'd get a minus 4. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to us. If not, again, come with questions, and that is a wrap.